Welcome back to LPNN. I'm Amber Bradley here with my co-MC Joe LaRocca.
Welcome back.
And you have tuned in to LP's only digital fast break conference, which is pretty cool.
Very cool.
So we have a packed day, but now I'm going to put you, I say this every time, I'm going to put you on the hot seat. But seriously, we're going to walk through the agenda of a value-packed day. So coming up, we have Scott McBride, Vice President of Loss Prevention at American Eagle, with Bob LaRocca from the NRF, no relation to you. We cleared that up in New York, didn't we, about
That's right.
The whole relation
We might
thing.
be Italian cousins, distant Italian cousins.
I still can't let it go because it's so funny. But so one of the big things that I think Bob LaRocca will also walk us through is really the story of the National Retail Security Survey. But what are your thoughts on what we have coming up, both addressing Scott McBride's session, which is the NRF LP effort and value, Protect 2018, and then the shrink story by the numbers, which I think we'll be talking about the NRSS.
Right. Well, I think Bob will do a nice job representing the NRF and the portfolio of work that they're doing. With Scott's session, I think the Advisory Council, the Loss Prevention Advisory Council, has done a lot of good work in preparing the conference, which is an annual event, the committee work that they do, but really focusing on the challenges that continue to evolve in the LP space. A lot of retailers looking at going global. So moving international represents unique challenges, not just language and different legislative battles. You might deal with new union requirements. Security in certain countries can be a real unique challenge. And then just the logistics of managing that truly remote workforce that you may not see or even know face to face. So that's the first part. The second part of, I think, what Scott's going to talk about is the overall council and where they're headed in terms of direction. There's a lot of new technology coming to light now with data visibility, improving efficiency in stores, the scan and go efforts. There's a lot of changes with technology that's now acceptable to talk about. You know, a decade ago,
Facial recognition?
Facial recognition. A decade ago, we never really talked much about the return management and managing the names of potential fraudsters targeting stores. So that's probably Scott's session in a nutshell.
Well, that's going to be awesome because we've got Bob walking us through several things, right? So the next one that they're going to talk about too, coming up, is cybersecurity. Interesting that the survey recounted that a lot of retailers have a cybersecurity plan if they get breached. However, the loss prevention professional is not exactly involved in that plan just yet. So I think we see that changing because, and we talked about this before, that if there is a breach, LP essentially gets pulled in.
Right.
So how do we get the LP professional on the front end talking about the planning and being involved in the cybersecurity plan?
Yeah, it's a really great question, and I'm glad that it was added into the National Retail Security Survey. I think there's really 3 levels of expertise we see here. There's, at the high level, chief security officers or chief information security officers that have taken on the full portfolio. You have others that are very involved in technology at the C level with the CIO. They're at the table making decisions about what are the best ways to protect the infrastructure and respond to a data breach or other cyber incident if it takes place. And then there's most companies, which the loss prevention person is not necessarily at the table early on, but when a breach occurs or when some criminal act takes place, they, of course, are the logical person to reach out to law enforcement, reach out to investigative companies.
And help clean up the mess.
And help,
Yeah.
you're putting it directly, yes. Help clean up the mess.
I'm the direct one, and Joe, you should run for office. We've talked about this
too many
before.
skeletons in the
Hashtag
closet.
LaRocca for president.
No. But I think that third level, they're people that are incident responders, and they're helping to actually cure the defect, if you will, within the organization. But look, this is a really hot topic. It's something that everyone is experiencing now. It's not if you get breached, it's when you get breached,
Right.
or when your data is publicly shared out on the dark web. So it's an important topic, and I think the NRF has done a lot to bring loss prevention professionals in retail into the fold, mixing them with the technology folks. Also important to include law enforcement from U.S. Homeland Security and other third-party operators that are in a pretty unique position to work with some of our larger federal and international agencies to help protect the infrastructure.
Yeah, there's a lot of prongs to that, right? So cyber breach is really brand protection as well as any asset that was stolen, digital or otherwise. So you think about the education that the LP professional really should get in all of those things, right? So what's going to happen from a PR perspective, brand protection perspective? How can they be educated, at least maybe not involved so much in the PR protection of it, but be educated to know what's going to happen next and what they should expect?
That's right. We've moved beyond the discussion that we had a decade ago, which was, so my data is breached. Well, that's identity theft. Well, there's identity theft, which is where someone actually has your personal identifiable information and they may use it in some criminal matter, right? They create a synthetic identity, or they take out credit cards in your name, they take out a mortgage in your name, something like that. And the data is stolen from retailers because, well, we're just a honeypot of good stuff, right? Different from somebody taking a credit card, stealing a pickpocket, stealing a number, stealing it online, and then using it, which is really fraud.
Right.
And thankfully, we've moved beyond the distinction there to know that this is really a much bigger issue, that we need to look at all hazards.
Yeah, like
if
an
you will. evolution
of the definition, right?
That's right.
I mean, if you look back in the day when it wasn't LP or loss prevention, asset protection professional, it was security, right? You see all these evolution, both from the professional's definition to what they're covering, right? A couple years ago, we were talking about how does loss prevention get a seat at the table?
Right.
I think hopefully we're kind of past that conversation and talking about, okay, now they have the seat at the table, hopefully in every retailer's environment, but what are they addressing?
Right.
How do they get involved in cyber? How do they get involved in these things more proactively even, which is great. An evolution of the profession, it seems.
Yeah. Well, and the other, you bring up a really important distinction about a seat at the table. We need to make sure the LP professionals are sitting at the right table.
That's right.
Because there's really the stores table and a virtual table. And in some future segment, we'll go through the differences there. I know we need to wrap
talk about
up in a
BOPIS.
minute. Yeah,
BOPIS.
that's right. Exactly.
But for now, we are going to turn it back over to Editor-in-Chief Gus Downing. Thanks so much for watching LP&N.